Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bachelor Nation official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Lone Rangeress Season 21 debuted on July 8th. However, it's been clear since Jenn Tran was first declared as its lead that the makers couldn't care less about her. Jenn, a 26-year-old Dr. right-hand understudy who's initially from Hillsdale, New Jersey, yet presently living in Boston, Massachusetts, is leaving a mark on the world as the principal Asian American Lone Ranger establishment lead. She started out on Joey Graziadei's Single Guy season, during which she came to his main 6 ladies. Nonetheless, he expressed farewell to one side before his old neighborhood dates. Presently, Jenn is prepared to proceed with her excursion to find love during the Lone Rangeress Season 21. She met her 25 admirers at the Hummingbird Home Farm as opposed to the customary single-man chateau, and she made a couple areas of strength for Of on night 1. The most profound of those associations so far is Sam McKinney, to whom she gave her initial feeling rose and the solitary kiss of the evening. The truth will surface at some point, assuming Jenn tracks down her genuine romance and gets ready for marriage. However, it's conspicuous right now that the makers don't have her well-being on a fundamental level. Since Jenn was reported as the Lone Wolf's Season 21 lead, bits of hearsay have been flying that she was a somewhat late third decision after the unhitched male Season 28, next in line Daisy Kent, and fan most loved Maria Jorgas turned it down. Jenn went straight into shooting after her declaration, so she couldn't promptly answer the hypothesis that she wasn't the makers' best option for the lead. In any case, the unhitched female makers ought to have been moved forward and said that Jenn was their best option to help her in her excursion. If indeed Jenn was the Lone Wolf's Season 21 makers' third decision for the lead job, then at that point, it demonstrates that they weren't effectively trying to project the primary Asian American lead in the establishment, however rather they made do with whoever they could get. The way that Jenn turned out to be Asian was a blissful mishap that they could use to demonstrate that they're focusing on the more different projecting that fans have been requesting for as far back as decade. This demonstrates that they truly couldn't have cared less about Jenn. Before Jenn was declared as the Lone Wolf's Season 21 lead, Joey's next-in-line Daisy made that big appearance to talk about her excursion. At the point when the roses on the stage were changed to daisies, watchers felt that the show was going to declare Daisy as the following unhitched female. Notwithstanding, Daisy made sense of that she wasn't prepared for take on the job, so she'd turned it down. Fans were definitely disheartened on the grounds that Daisy had turned into a fan number 1 because of her sweet disposition and her generous self-end during the last rose function. They believed that their champion was going to report that she was proceeding with her excursion to find love on the unhitched female Season 21. However, rather they figured out that another person would take on the job. It didn't make any difference who that lady was. She was unavoidably going to feel like a letdown for Daisy fans. In the event that the makers really thought often about Jenn, they would have reported her as the single woman Season 21 lead before Daisy made that big appearance and permitted Jenn to have her second. All things considered, Jenn had all the earmarks of being a subsequent option after Daisy turned down the job, which caused her declaration to feel like an idea in retrospect or potentially a mistake. This was so out of line to Jenn, and she merited better. On the Call Her Daddy digital recording, Maria guaranteed that she was the single woman Season 21 lead until she turned it down. She made sense of, "I was offered the job. Well, it was mine until I said it wasn't. To the place where I was doing fittings." Maria said, "It was permanently established." That's what she added. During Joey's Single Guy season, Jenn was one of her nearest young ladies in the house, and she was continuously expressing to what lengths she went for this. That's what Maria shared. Despite the fact that everybody around her maintained that her should be the single woman, she asked why she was troubled or amped up for it. She said that she at long last understood, "It's simply not my time," and she declined the job. Maria likewise said that she then, at that point, made a stride back from things since she needed a break. Yet she likewise needed Jenn to have her second. She said, "She is the absolute best unhitched female in my eyes. I was unable to consider anybody better to do this. Furthermore, she was so prepared for it. What's more, that was enough for me to sort of say, definitely, it's not my time. Maria shouldn't have been permitted to uncover anything about the Lone Rangeress projecting interaction on this digital recording. The makers ought to have been stood up after Maria's remarks were made to demonstrate that Jenn wasn't their third decision. Maria caused it to appear like she moved to one side so Jenn could play the part since she needed it more than she. In any case, the Lone Rangeress makers didn't appear to mind, and their quietness says a lot. After Jenn wrapped up recording the Lone Wolfess Season 21, she additionally showed up on the Call Her Daddy webcast. That's what she shared, on the grounds that she'd gone directly into recording after she was declared as the lead. She didn't have her telephone when this was all going down about how she turned into the superstar. Jenn conceded that she was, clearly truly frustrated to see all that. She demanded that there are a ton of stories out there, and they're not really reality. Jenn went against Maria's cases, and made sense of that the Lone Rangeress has been happening for quite a long time. And each season there are different individuals in dispute for the job. She said that numerous individuals get talked with or do gatherings. They additionally do fittings or film introduction bundles. And it's never truly you until it's you. Jenn demanded that it was anything but a latest possible moment choice for her to be the single woman. She said, "We had gatherings about it. We discussed it for a really long time. And afterward they asked me, and I had the decision, and I decided to make it happen." I said okay. Jenn proceeded, "It was disheartening to return from this staggering excursion for myself, and afterward to see all the hypothesis around it, and to nearly have these things sort of detract from what my process was." Despite the fact that Jenn shared that she conversed with different ladies who were up for the job of the unhitched female, and we are in general fine, and it's all good, Maria in the end unfollowed her on Instagram, demonstrating that this wasn't true. The makers made it with the goal that Jenn had no real option except to debate Maria's cases, and accordingly caused the conceivable finish of their kinship. In the event that they truly thought often about Jenn, they would have supported her while she was shooting, rather than having her return to disheartening remarks to which she felt compelled to answer. Apparently the single girl generally gets not exactly the Lone Ranger, regardless of what season. The single woman had the bombed investigation of co-lone wolfesses with Gabby Windy and Rachel Recchia, while no unhitched males have at any point needed to share the lead job. In 2023, the Single Man Season 27 lead Zach Shallcross had 11 episodes in his season, while the Lone Wolfess Season 20 lead Noble Cause Lawson just had 9. Presently, history is rehashing the same thing as Jenn has less challengers than Joey had. While Joey's cast was comprised of an incredible 32 ladies, Jenn has 7 less men at 25. It is just a little unreasonable that Joey had a greater number of challengers to browse than Jenn. Jenn ought to have been had similarly as numerous contenders to browse as Joey. Notwithstanding, this demonstrates that the makers care more about their single men than their unhitched females. During the Unhitched Female Season 21 debut, Jenn reinforced with challenger Thomas Nguyen about their Vietnamese culture. He is the main completely Asian American man in the cast. In a meeting with Charm, Jenn conceded that she wanted that she had more men who came from her equivalent culture and foundation in her cast. She said, "I can't actually address the projecting system and the choices that were made. However, tragically, there weren't much of Asian men this season." Jenn proceeded, "Asian men haven't generally seen themselves here, and I'm trusting that me being here and Thomas N being there, that the two of us can motivate other Asian men to understand that they can do this as well, assuming they need. They can be here also. I'm trusting that it rouses them. For a really long time, single guy country has expected more Asian American portrayal in the establishment. However, the way that the makers at last cast an Asian American lead with just a single challenger from her experience is reprehensible. A few fans have guessed that these men were initially picked for Daisy, yet it truly doesn't make any difference. The projecting ought to have been adapted to Jenn. In a meeting with the Los Angeles Times, the Bachelorette maker Bennett Grebner tended to the absence of Asian portrayal in Jenn's cast. He expressed, "That is on us. We didn't do what we expected to do. Our expectation is that they will see Jenn and understand this is a place of refuge. We're not saying it will tackle and fix everything. However, it is a stage. The facts really confirm that Jenn being given a role as the single girl season 21 lead is a positive development for the lone wolf establishment. Be that as it may, this statement causes her to seem like a token, which is totally uncalled for to her. In the event that the makers truly thought often about portraying an Asian American romantic tale, rather than simply taking a look at a crate to meet a share, then at that point, they would have projected more Asian people for Jenn.